Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Kiyan.
This is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we sell out all our friends in exchange for unlimited power, because this week we watched State of Decay.
Written by Terrance Dicks.
Directed by Peter Moffat.
And aired in November and December of 1980.
Yep, so I'm selling Kiyan out, I'm getting a new co-host, and I'm going to take over the world. Sorry, everyone.
Well, little does Dylan know that I've already sold him out for eternal life.
Great. I guess if you've sold me out and I've sold you out, the podcast can't continue. So that's awkward. Sorry for everyone who was really looking forward to any more episodes. Anyway, that'll all get explained later in the episode. But yeah, Terrance Dicks returning to the program for the first time since Fang Rock, which was with Leela.
Yeah, so another callback here to my favorite companion. And
That's
this
a bit
serial,
of a stretch.
But in this serial, we actually get introduced to, as we mentioned last week, probably the worst companion ever.
Adric. This is actually the first Adric serial that was filmed. It was filmed before last week. Actually, apparently, Terrance Dicks had a lot of difficulty in writing Adric into this script, because the script was originally proposed in 1977. The BBC was like, yeah, we're working on a Dracula adaptation, so no. Eventually, I guess J&T was just digging through the archives for some reason and was like, hey, this script looks pretty cool.
Well, he pulled out a pretty good story then.
Yeah.
I mean, Adric aside. I'll be honest, though, I actually didn't mind Adric in most of this.
Yeah, I thought it all fell apart in episode 4, though.
Yeah, I just thought that was funny, but we'll get there.
Anyway, it begins... it doesn't begin with the Doctor and Amana again.
It begins with some peasants getting taken to a medieval-style castle. So clearly they're under the feudal system here, as is explained later, and they get taken to this castle, which is ruled by this king and queen who look very, very creepy.
And their advisor.
Yes, and their advisor, who looks pretty creepy, but not as creepy as the king and queen.
Yeah.
I don't know, I was watching this at night, and I was, like, right before I went to bed, and, like, I turned off my computer, and, like, all the lights were off, and I was, like, walking to go to bed, and I was like, oh, man, this is kind of creepy. And you have to admit that the king and queen were just frightening.
I guess. Not the most frightening thing we've seen on the show, in my opinion.
No, in my opinion, they were. What was more frightening than the freaking king?
I don't know. The giant spider of the whatchamacallit.
The final third Doctor serial?
Yeah.
Whatever that was called, yeah.
Whatever that was called.
No, I think the king in particular is the most frightening thing we've seen on the show so far.
They just look like old people to me.
Well, yeah, that's when they age at the end. Then they look pretty old.
They just look pretty old now to me. They just look like
but they had that
60s to 70s, age-wise, not decades-wise.
No, I don't know. I thought something about their makeup and the fangs that they have later on, just very unsettling. So, there you go.
Maybe we're just put off by different things.
Well, the castle is very interesting. I don't know. I liked the color scheme and kind of the, not art style, but yeah, I guess I can say art style they had going on here. Not very colorful, very brown, gray-ish.
As you would expect from a medieval castle.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. Like, I always imagined that the world was, like, less colorful back then. So I was like, hey, cool.
Do you imagine the world is in black and white before they invented color film?
No, I just imagined that it was all, like, dull and gray and brown.
Well, probably because back then dyes were super expensive, so everything was actually less colorful. Unless you just went out to the meadow, I guess. Anyway, cut to the Doctor and Amana trying to figure out how to get out of E-space.
Unsuccessfully.
K9's been repaired too.
Yeah. K9 gets a slightly larger role in this serial than he has so far in season 18, but not by much.
Slightly larger role. Because as soon as they land, the Doctor tells K9 to stay in the ship. because it's a non-technological society and they'd be creeped out by K9 apparently.
Boo!
Hey, we already knew going into this that K9 was gonna be given a lesser role based on the prior 3 weeks of serial.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean I have to like it.
No. Doesn't mean you have to dislike it either, though.
No, but I do dislike it. I don't have to, but I do. So, in my notes here, I have, so just how long is K9's plunger anyway? And I don't even remember why I wrote that.
Oh, because he was really far from the console, and then he extended it to interface with the console. It was really long, and they never seemed to establish a...
Like, the scene ends as it's still extending. And you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, like I was saying, they've never really given it a set length. It just kind of extends as much as they want it to. Although obviously the prop has a max limit.
Yeah. Duh. Well, I mean, we can just pretend that it's infinite if we want.
Well, I wrote a note that was like, really says something that we don't see Adric for like all of episode 1.
Yeah, they didn't know what to do with him. Same with K9.
Yeah, thank goodness for that. Not the K9 bit, the Adric bit.
Yeah, but it also kind of sucks that 2 out of 3 companions, they don't know how to write into the story.
Well, it's not that they don't know how to write, it's just that they don't like K9.
And
they actually don't know how to write Adric. Like, this was the first Adric serial filmed, and also the first one kind of that finished writing, and Terrance just didn't know what to do with Adric because the character hadn't been established yet. Not only that, he'd written the serial originally for I guess 2 companions, because 1977, I guess he would have had K9 by then. Maybe.
Yeah, that would have been...
That would have been what?
K9 and Leela?
Would that be after Fang Rock? Yeah, it would have been that season, I think. I guess we can just double check. 1977 would have been...
Huh, that would have been Sarah.
It would have been late Sarah, early Leela, so around the time that Fang Rock came about. This might have even been rejected, and he may have written Fang Rock as a replacement for this. So he may not have even had K9 when he wrote it originally, so...
There you go.
Anyway, the Doctor and Romana wander out of the TARDIS and run into someone.
Right, they're in
runs
a
away.
forest.
Yeah.
They make comments about how it looks like a classic feudal medieval society with the castle on the hill and, the peasants living in the surrounding area.
Well,
working the land.
Not only that, when they're in the TARDIS, the Doctor was like, hey, the gravity's almost identical to Earth's. And I was like, wow, okay. And then later you find out, well, we'll get there. So the Doctor and Romana wander around for a bit more and then get captured by some guards. Or some people, just some guys, some people.
Yeah, did we mention the peasants who got taken? Well, we mentioned the peasants who got taken away, but did we mention that they were taken away for some sort of sacrifice?
No.
Well, now we have. That's what they were taken away for.
Yeah, they're going to be sacrificed. Clearly a society with priorities in order.
Yeah.
Although later you find out it's actually, everything is in order.
Yeah, it's actually just the Aztecs. Ian versus... God, what was that guy's name?
What, the guy he threw off of the pyramid?
Yeah.
Who definitely died? And then Ian showed no remorse whatsoever.
Kind of like Adric. Come to think of it. What if it's revealed that Adric is Ian?
That would suck. Honestly suck.
It also wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
Based on the spoilers we now know about Adric.
Well, it might have made sense based on this serial, maybe.
No. No, just no.
Maybe.
No.
Maybe.
Not at all. But anyway, the Doctor and Romana get taken to the castle because they run into one of the guards and he thinks that they're nobles because they don't really have the bearing of peasants or whatever, so he's like, oh, they're lords, so they take them to the castle.
It's probably the purple clothes the Doctor's wearing. historically, purple was used to symbolize royalty. So
Yeah. As was hemophilia, but anyway.
okay,
Not really used to symbolize it so much as used to. Well, whatever.
we'll move on. So they're in the castle and they meet I guess the king and queen.
Yeah.
It's Camilla and shoot.
Zargo? Was that
I think it was Zargo.
I didn't really know their names, but I think the king was Zargo.
Yeah, Zargo.
Yeah. The creepy rulers of this surprisingly small-looking area.
Well, they rule over everyone on the planet, which means everyone the Doctor and Romana have met so far. I think it's actually mentioned that they're like the only people on the planet. Is everyone in the castle and the like rebels.
Yeah, and Romana and the Doctor are like, well, we're not from here. And they're like, well, how can you not be from here? There's nowhere else.
And they're like, Meanwhile, Adric.
Yeah, and then Adric wanders out of the TARDIS, and K9 makes some snarky remarks about him. And he goes off to find out what the Doctor and Romana are up to.
Why? My question is why?
He said he wanted to go on an adventure with them.
So why didn't he reveal himself like when they were in the TARDIS?
Dunno.
Why?
So yeah, he goes out and, further adding to the point we'd made a minute ago, he runs into this old woman who's like, hey, I don't know you. That's weird. Everyone knows everyone here.
Yeah, you realize that this serial would have played out completely normally if Adric hadn't wandered out of the TARDIS.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have gotten that hilarious scene in
It
episode
wasn't
4.
hilarious.
Yes, it was.
It was not.
One of the few times I've actually laughed out loud.
Yeah, maybe you
watching
laughed out
Doctor
loud
Who.
at the absurdity of it and not because it was funny. Maybe you laughed out loud because of the absurdity of the companion selling out the Doctor.
Yeah, that's why it was funny.
That's not funny. That's just terrible.
Yeah, that's why it was so funny.
I guess if you can't laugh at life, what can you laugh at?
Death. No, this isn't the Sisterhood of the Flame. No. Yeah, anyway, Adric tries to steal some soup, right?
Yeah. He's just gonna become a thief.
Well,
also for no reason, because the
TARDIS
TARDIS has a freaking kitchen.
No, he's not becoming a thief here. I think you're forgetting when he attempts to steal those river fruit in full circle.
Are you implying he's already a thief?
Yes.
Alright, semantics.
He's not successful either time, by the way.
Do you expect he would be?
Maybe. But yeah, he gets caught, has that little exchange with the old woman, and then helps himself to some soup. Asks if they have any cheese. Ungrateful little twerp.
And then he's like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, I think he's held at knife point by Ivo here, isn't he? Ivo walks in, he's like, what are you doing here? He's held at knife point, and I made a note of this because I wrote literally not acting when held at knife point.
Oh, I thought your note was going to be, knife could have ended our next years of pain.
It's not going to be that bad. If the moments of hilarity in this serial are anything to go by, then
It wasn't
won't be
hilarious.
that bad. Just try and find some humor in it, okay?
It just made me hate him more, to be honest.
And that's funny.
That's not funny. That's just sad. That's just sad.
Yeah, it's so sad that it's funny.
I don't know about that.
Anyway, the Doctor and Romana...
It's gay.
Well, yeah, they're kind of locked in.
I think we forgot to mention when they met the rebels, because they met them before they got captured, or before they got taken to the castle, because they fix up this old computer system for their leader, who's this possibly senile old man.
Wearing like a net on his head or something. Like a mesh cap. But yeah, they have this computer, an ancient remnant of something or the other.
Oh, the ship that landed there from Earth. The Doctor.
Yeah, well,
reads
I
off
wasn't
the
going to
names.
mention that yet, but yeah,
this is when they find out.
They actually do
that
find
it's
that
from
out
Earth.
right now, and I guess we mentioned that they're rebels, so obviously they're rebelling against the
quote-unquote
feudal
rebels.
society. Yeah,
they're like intellectual rebels because they're rebelling by being privy to this knowledge, and they want to learn more. Because apparently the way the system is set up, the three who rule, that's their name, have been keeping the peasants like away from knowledge intentionally.
Yeah, that's how real feudal systems worked.
And that's how these people are rebelling. They're like, oh, we've got this computer system.
But we don't know how to use it.
This is a rebellion, right? I rebel.
Oh, God.
So, now cutting back to the part where the Doctor and Amon have been captured. I don't know when episode 1 ends. I think it ends with them being captured, actually.
It might end with the bats, come to think of it. Or maybe that was 2. I don't really know.
Oh, no, episode 1 ends with the bats. Then they get captured in episode 2, and they get taken to Camilla and
Zargo. The rebels mention that the Doctor he helps them access the files on the computer because they never knew how. And they see the faces of the crew. The crew who originally came to this planet from Earth. The Doctor also mentions that obviously, they came into E-space from Earth. So, there you go. So this is the crew, and one of the rebels mentions that the 3 crew members look exactly like Zargo, Camilla, and what's-his-face?
Alcon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the names of the crew are Sharky, O'Connor, and Macmillan. That comes into play later.
Yeah.
So, cutting back once again to the Doctor and Amon being captured.
Sorry. Oh, God.
Hey, I prefer him as a companion than Adric.
You want Zargo as a companion?
No, just someone named Sharky. You'd be like, Sharky.
So what if Adric was named Sharky?
That would knock him up like 1 likeness point.
How many likeness points are on the likeness point scale?
I don't know. As many as we want.
All right.
We could just keep adding more whenever we want.
All right, well, I guess it can range from Adric to Leela.
On a scale of Adric to Leela, how do you like this companion? Perfect.
So yeah, they're captured, and then I think Orkon comes in because they realize that Adric has hidden mathematical potential, which I guess is a nice kind of tie-in to him being a mathematical genius supposedly.
Not like Zoe though. Zoe was a nice genius.
Well, Zoe's genius was displayed on screen. Adric's isn't. It's just stated that he's a mathematical genius. He has this star, and also apparently he has latent psychic abilities.
So does the Doctor. He's just a clone of the Doctor at this point.
So yeah, he's taken in by Orkon, and Orkon alerts Camilla and Zargo to the fact that one of the prophesied sacrifices, who's like smarter than everyone, has been discovered.
Oh yeah, Orkon has like psychic abilities.
Yeah.
He can mind control people.
Yeah. So they lock up the Doctor and Romana to go investigate what's up with that.
In the throne room for some reason.
Didn't seem like there was, it seemed like there was a lot valuable there, but unless they just went about breaking everything, it didn't really seem like they would be able to do anything there. I guess they didn't foresee the fact that they'd find the hidden passageway.
Well, I think it's the throne room because it used to be the bridge of the spaceship.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the Doctor and Romana find this hidden passageway. Romana kind of points it out to the Doctor.
Yeah, as they sit on the thrones there.
So they escape, and then
the passageway actually accesses another part of the ship that controls stuff.
The escape pods, I think.
Yeah, that's what it specifically controls later, but don't know why that stuff's not controlled from the main throne room. Yeah, I guess they're connected.
Because presumably you don't want to have to stay behind in the control room to launch the control pods if you need to escape.
No, I mean, I don't know. I didn't really have that much of a problem with it. I was just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I actually didn't think about it until right now, so.
So the Doctor and Romana escape into some sort of seedy cave underneath the spaceship where this giant monster thing is just chilling.
And then Orkon shows up and he's like, I see you've found my lair.
No. He calls it the resting place. Really unmenacingly, too.
Yeah,
he's like, welcome to the resting place. And then episode 2 ends.
They call it like the inner sanctum later.
One of the worst cliffhangers ever is Orkon just going, I see you found the resting place.
See, I liked it, though, because as I mentioned before, I thought the 3 the King, Queen, and Orkon were pretty creepy, so...
I guess, but it wasn't really delivered in any sort of menacing way. It was just kind of like, oh, you found the resting place.
Yeah, and that's what they'd done. They'd found the resting place.
Yeah, it was really just underwhelming. It wasn't even a cliffhanger. If I had seen that cliffhanger on TV, I probably wouldn't have tuned in next week to see what happens.
No, you would have.
No.
Don't even pretend.
No.
Would you just skip an episode of Doctor Who after watching all of them?
Just waited for the serial to finish. Or I would have been more inclined not to tune in, I guess.
Yeah, more inclined not to, but you probably still would have.
Yeah, but I wouldn't mind if I had missed the next episode after that cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Admit it, it's the worst cliffhanger so far.
On the show so far?
Yes.
No.
Then what's the worst then?
I don't know, but it wasn't this.
It definitely is this.
Nah. But I guess that just is because I found Zargo, Camila, and Orkon to be kind of scary.
If this was in any other serial with someone just going, oh, you found the resting place, and then it ending, you would have said it was pretty bad.
Well, we don't know, because that's not what happened.
It will happen. You can almost guarantee something similar will happen, because the show reuses everything. Episode 3 begins with them being like, oh, okay.
It begins with the Doctor, doing some sort of stupid bluff or something. The oldest trick in the book, as the Master might have called it.
See, episode 2 should have ended with Orkon mind controlling the Doctor. Now that would have been a good cliffhanger.
Well,
because he does that immediately as soon as episode 3 starts.
Well, they cover their eyes, because I guess... Did they actually make mention of the vampire lore stuff before this? I think they did.
No, it's only after this. Because they get captured with a guard, and then Romana's like, oh yeah, there's a copy of the record of Rassilon in the TARDIS. And the Doctor's like, oh, and Romana's like, oh yeah. Has information on the vampire war, and the Doctor's like, oh, okay, sick.
Yeah, he's like, there are vampire legends on almost every inhabited planet.
Well, actually, Romana's like, oh, I think it was in the Type 40s, and the Doctor's like, oh, the TARDIS is a Type 40. Don't know how Romana didn't know it was a Type 40 by now. In fact, hasn't she mentioned that it's a Type 40?
I think they were just being dumb. Well, no, I think they were just
being clever with each other.
Well, Romana was just trying to be snarky and succeeding at it. But there was this one part that I noted in my notes that the guy who plays Orkon always makes these unnatural, exaggerated hand motions. And did you notice that Tom was doing that too? I was like, is he just poking fun at...
Tom always does that,
No, but he was mimicking this guy. Did you not notice that?
No.
I was like, I thought he was kind of making fun of him or something.
Yeah, maybe. But Tom always has those exaggerated hand movements, so...
But if you want to, go back and watch. He was doing exactly... Really okay, well, he was exactly mimicking what this guy was doing. But anyway, at some point, another little funny thing I noted was at some point, the Doctor mentions that they have 3 options left open to them, and I was like, is the third option genocide?
Yes.
Hey, the Time Lord gave them 3 options, and only one remains.
Yeah, well, the Time Lords are pretty terrible at genocide, as you find out when the Doctor gets back to the TARDIS.
Hey, they eliminated all but one.
That's terrible.
Can't believe we're...
That's not really a genocide. Genocide is you kill everyone. It's actually the definition.
So it's terrible that they left one alive?
No, it's terrible in the sense that they didn't carry out a full genocide.
Oh my God. That sounds really bad. Sounds really bad.
Genocide's not okay, kids. I'm just saying it was a terrible success rate.
For genocide.
Yes.
Whatever.
Plus, I'm pretty sure, given the fact that this serial has a direct sequel where another great one, Vampire, shows up, I'm pretty sure they left more than just one alive.
Well, obviously. It's not just this one. You know this is going to come into play a bit later. There has to be another vampire-related story. Although I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be related to this, but I guess it is.
Anyway, the Doctor escapes, but at this point they found out that Adric has snuck off the TARDIS and has been captured by the guards. So Romana goes to rescue Adric with Tarak, whatever his name was.
Fang Rock? No. The rebels have like this schism where some of them don't want to take any action, and some of them do want to just like storm the castle.
Yeah, literally.
So some of them do that.
Well, it's just Turok. Because he says to the leader, like, oh, I'll go rescue the doctor, and he'll bring us back intel, and then if he knows where all the guards are, then we'll all just attack. And the leader agrees to this.
Yeah, turns out that was his last mistake.
Oh, well.
So they do the prisoner bluff. But that doesn't really work. So they just knock the guard out.
Yeah.
They have so this was kind of reminded me of Androids of Tara. You know, they have all the high technology here, but it's like medieval, so that was kind of cool. We don't get enough of those settings.
Yeah, but I liked this better than Androids of Tara.
Well, because the story was a little better.
The story was way better. What are you talking about?
They make it into the king and queen's bedchamber. I guess Adric is like passed out on a bed.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to be all quiet, but Romana's like talking really loudly.
Yeah, and then she's trying to wake up Adric, like, wake up, Adric! And wakes up the king and queen, like, how did you not know that was going to happen?
And they bare their fangs, and it's revealed that they're the vampires. Which we already kind of knew.
Yeah.
If Orkhan was any indication, which he was.
I don't think they're necessarily vampires so much as they have vampire powers from the Great One.
Yeah,
I think that's what the implication was.
So they reveal sooner or later that the crew was called there by the vampire. Oh, we can explain this when the Doctor actually goes back to the TARDIS.
Well, they've revealed that Camilla, Orkhan, and Zargo used to be, still are the three people who crewed the ship.
Yeah, so they think at first that they're the descendants of the people who the ship's crew.
Yeah, O'Connor and them.
Sharky.
And,
but then
Macmillan.
The Doctor somehow deduces that they actually are the ship's crew, and they've been given eternal life by the vampire.
Yeah.
And become vampires themselves.
Yeah, and the Doctor goes to the TARDIS, and now we get a humorous scene of him trying to find the record of Rassilon, and then Kanan's like, there is a magnetic card system on this ship, and then we get a scene of the Doctor putting, like, punch cards into the TARDIS to get it to read out information.
Yeah, I mean, what the heck was up with that?
I don't know.
Kind of strange.
But I thought it was great.
It's a bit weird. So he gets all this information on vampires and the Time Lord war against the vampires, I guess.
Well, I liked the scene because it implied that the TARDIS has been around for a long time and the Doctor has been continually making upgrades, and then at one point it worked on a punch card system. I just thought that was humorous. That it used to be a punch card TARDIS. Can you imagine plugging in coordinates using a punch card system? That would be a show I wouldn't watch.
Well, we also didn't mention that Tarek died. He was killed by one of them, Zargo, I guess.
Yeah, and they're about to kill Romana, and then Orkhan's like, no, she's a time lady. We could use her. She's a great enemy of the Great One. We could power the Great One with her. Because at this point, the Doctor and Romana have found all of the dead bodies just hiding in the basement. Bodies in the closet, so to speak. And they're all drained of blood. And the Doctor reveals that they're going to use the blood to power the spaceship or something?
Yeah, well, they're
going to use the blood
for something.
Rejuvenate the Great One, who's going to take them off the planet, I think.
Something like that. Or maybe they're just... Well, yeah, actually they want to... They want to leave the planet so they can go to other planets and drain those other planets of their blood and life force or something. They imagine this whole great conquest where they go from planet to planet just destroying everything.
Yeah, and apparently they're going to escape back into end space somehow, too. I think they mentioned that, because at first they're like, we're going to conquer the universe.
And then we'll conquer that other universe that we came from.
Well, because I was thinking, like, E-space is smaller than end space. K9 says this because he also says, the relative size of E-space compared to end space will make fractional jumps a lot more accurate. And Doc's like, oh yeah, that's really good, actually. Which is probably why the short hops in the previous serial were also way easier for the Doctor to do. But I was wondering, like, you're going to conquer the whole universe. It's really not that big. It's E-space. But then
they're like,
we're going to escape to end space.
So E-Space is probably still pretty big.
Just read the wiki page, because I have, and it's like there's only like 10 inhabited planets in E-Space.
Well, I mean, it takes like 5 minutes to walk down the street. It's going to take forever to get to those 5 inhabited planets.
I mean, not based on the size of the Great One, because the Great One's huge. Anyway, yeah, E-Space is small, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, so the only way to kill the vampires is to... Well, the Time Lords used these ships called bow ships, I think?
Bow ships.
Where they would just fire this large steel
stake
yeah,
thing
at the vampires, and that would kill them. So, that, classic stake through the heart thing.
But the only way to kill the vampire was to completely obliterate the heart. Kind of a twist, because it's not a wooden stake like in the classic stories.
Yeah.
And Ron even mentions at one point a wooden stake, but I guess she was mistaken.
Mistaken?
Guess she didn't study up on her exams.
Good thing they have some garlic. Because that's actually...
No.
They just chuck garlic at the Great One.
No, that's what?
I'm sure it would work.
No. Don't think so, somehow.
What else are vampires weak to? Stake through the heart, garlic.
The sun.
The sun?
Oh, the doctor also mentions when they get to the throne room that there's no windows. That might have been a reference to the no something, but it was more likely a reference to the fact that it was a bridge of a spaceship.
Maybe both.
Yeah, the castle is the spaceship, if it wasn't clear from the fact that the throne room was the bridge. I just wanted to make it explicitly clear.
Aren't they weak to, like, silver crosses, something like that?
No, you're thinking of werewolves. Werewolves are susceptible to silver.
Aren't vampires still weak against crosses, though?
I don't know. Think so.
All I know is that they sparkle in the sunlight.
That's just Twilight. In old vampire mythos, in the sunlight, they would
die,
burn up and die. But then,
we're probably going to watch the Twilight movies at some point for triple play.
No, because they made like 4 of them.
Yeah, but once we run out of trilogies...
Yeah, when we run out of trilogies 7 years from now.
Yep, 7 years from now.
That's not a guarantee, by the way. I'm pretty sure there's more than 7 years of trilogies.
Yeah, no, there's definitely
Especially
more.
it's 6 trilogies a year.
Yeah. There's like 50 years of trilogies once we get into the obscure ones. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
I mean, it's there.
But it's not here.
I guess. It's here because of what we're doing after this.
All right. Well, anyway, Adric and Romana aren't dead, as we mentioned before, and Orkhan...
Adric sells out.
This was just hilarious. One of the few times this show has made me laugh out loud.
Funny.
Orkhan is like, Adric, we're gonna kill Romana, but Adric, we're offering you eternal life and eternal power because your mind is great. And he's like, sweet.
Yeah, except he's more like he's talking to Romana. He's like, hey, they've offered me eternal life. So, like, why wouldn't I take that? Rather one of us die than 2, right? I was like, wow, okay, he's going to throw Romana under the bus. Okay.
And Romana's kind of reacts similarly. She's like, wow, Adric, wow. And he's like...
Understandably.
And he's like, you know what? I really don't care about you or the doctor.
Yeah, because what makes it, like, what made me actually hate Adric wasn't so much that, but so much was him going... Oh, the doctor could have just left. He, like, might have just taken the TARDIS and gone. And it's like, okay, Adric, you clearly don't understand. Considering Lost serial, he spent the entire serial trying to stop the Marshman from being lobotomized.
Well, I just thought this was funny.
I don't know. I think it was on Matthew Waterhouse's poor acting again. Because, like, anyone else would have acted it like the character is, like, obviously selling out because he's trying to bluff his way out of it to save them. But the way Matthew Waterhouse played it was that Adric actually wanted to sell them out. And then later when he's like, oh, it was all a bluff, it sounds like he's just trying to cover his behind.
Yeah, it does. But what, did you want him to, like, wink at Romana? Like, hey,
sure, yeah.
It's just
even
a bluff.
if you just winked, I would have been more okay with it.
Well, I didn't necessarily like it. The only reason I kind of liked it is because I thought it was hilarious. But at the same time, it kind of leaves you wondering, like, is he kidding? Or is he bluffing? Or is he not? So that was kind of interesting to me.
I don't know. It's just weird to have a companion so blatantly just turn on the doctor. I mean, if we didn't know he was going to be the companions until this week, maybe we would have been like, oh, well, the Doctor's not going to take this and he's going to, like, drop him off somewhere.
Nope. But because we know he's already a companion, now we're like, is he going to do this for the whole run? Is he just going to be ready to sell out the Doctor at, like, the drop of a hat? Like, I don't know if I'm okay with that. He still wasn't a good actor, like you just mentioned, so, I mean, that's completely independent of the writing here and the character, but, Matthew Waterhouse is a pretty bad actor.
Maybe he gets better over his run.
Hopefully.
I guess we'll see. Anyway, eventually the Doctor teams up with the rebels and kind of storms back into the castle and launches one of the escape pods, I think.
Yeah, they mentioned...
You're like, wow.
Well, the rebels mentioned that they don't really have many weapons, and the Doctor's like, oh, well, we have K9.
Yeah, and you know how K9's been not killing a bunch of people? Well, it's not confirmed in the serial that he does, but he does come out of the TARDIS and go, rearmed in hostile mode. And you're like, okay, I guess he's just going to go gun down some people.
Which he does.
We're counting those as deaths, by the way, because they're not confirmed not to die. And based on that line of hostile mode, I'm going to assume that they died.
Well, then there's that little fight between Ivo and what's his name. That wasn't too interesting of a subplot. It was barely
Hubris, Hubris.
It was Hubris. His name was
It's
Hubris.
Hubris.
That was... I guess that was a subplot. He was mad that his son had been taken away and sacrificed, but it wasn't that interesting, and it wasn't really there very much, so there you go.
Okay,
If you liked
something
it,
to
then,
do.
Yeah. So yeah, the Doctor launches one of the escape pods.
And at first you're like, great, nice, perfect, stellar. And then you find out that the escape pod is coming back down. It has a steel pole sticking out of it, and it impales a great one, and it dies.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was going to be something like that. I didn't think he was just like, see you later, guys.
I don't know. At first, he launched the escape pod, and I was like, why? Because he didn't explain what he was doing until he met up with Romani, and he's like, oh yeah, it's got a steel tip, and I'm like, oh, because once he mentioned it had a steel tip, I was like, oh, okay, it's going to come back and stab the great one.
Well, you knew it had, he was putting in motion some sort of plan. I mean, he wasn't just going to like,
well,
escape.
Obviously. And he wasn't in the escape pod,
yeah, he wasn't. So,
if he wanted to escape, he would have taken the TARDIS.
The visual we get here, like Adric said, the visual we get here for the escape pod is also kind of funny. It's just it doesn't really make an arc or anything. It kind of just flips upside down and falls back down. So I thought that was a little bit funny, interesting. But yeah, it stabs the Great One. The Great One dies, and so do Camilla, Orkon, and Zargo. They age a lot and then, like, turn to dust.
Guess the Great One was keeping him alive through his infinite cosmic power.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, they look pretty good for 1,000. I mean...
The Doctor looks pretty good for, like, 750 or whatever he is now. Romana looks really good for, like, 400 or whatever.
Romana in this serial mentions that she used to work in some library or some...
Yeah, she used to work at the
agency.
record keeping for the Academy, I think.
That's how she knew about Rassilon and his also infinite powers, I guess.
His record. And his sash. And his key. And his bathrobe.
I thought you said Sass for a minute.
The sass of Rassilon.
Kind of has a nice ring to it. Kind of rolls off your tongue.
Sassalon?
But yeah, the day is saved. I'm sure their society won't devolve or anything now that there's no clear rulers.
Well, the Doctor kind of mentions to the rebellious group. He fixes their computer and gets them basically all of the records. And he's like, okay, so now you have all the technology. If you want to become a technological society, you can do that. If you don't, that's cool too. We're going to leave now.
Pretty sure they're not going to. I mean, all they have is that one computer. No one really knows how to use it.
Well, they have the ship still.
They have
the whole castle is the ship.
Yeah, but like no one really knows how to use it. So I'm just going to assume that they don't really do anything with that.
Well, maybe the ship has tons of educational records and that maybe it won't get them to the computer technological advancement, but it'll at least like rapidly advance the technology of the culture.
I don't know. Maybe Kalmar just inserts himself as king.
Maybe they make a democracy, which is what I would assume they would do. But yeah, and then the Doctor's like, okay, we have to take you back to...
Alzarius, whatever it was called.
Adric. And Adric's like, oh, what?
But as we know, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
They're
pity.
still trying to get to Gallifrey.
That too. Well, they're trying to escape E-space first.
So that they can get to Gallifrey.
Yeah, well, primary goal, escape E-space. Secondary goal, get to Gallifrey.
So yeah, that wraps this up.
Yeah.
Really good story here. I really enjoyed the story.
Yeah, my favorite of the season.
Yeah, definitely. And so far, season 18 is shaping up to be pretty enjoyable, despite all the things we mentioned before we started this season.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure people just don't like it because it was different from
It's
last
not
season.
season 17.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's unfair to judge season 18 because it's not as funny as season 17 because it's maybe better in some other aspects.
Well, I mean,
like it's a bit more tightly plotted than season 17 was.
Well, we'll judge when we get to the end, obviously, but I would say I probably enjoy season 17 more.
Yeah.
And 16 too. Well, 16 I guess we can judge a little bit later too. But I don't know, 16, 17, 18 to me seem like the best 3 seasons so far, sort of the best era of the show so far, you could say. The Romana era, I guess you could call it.
The Romana era, yeah. I would agree. It's interesting that, quote-unquote, the Romana era has gone through basically 3 different creative teams behind the scenes. You know, we had the Anthony Reid, and the Anthony Reid script editor era. We had the Douglas Adams era, and then
Best era.
now we have the J&T Bidmead era.
The canine hating era.
It's interesting that in the serial, Peter Moffat, who actually he was directing the serial and he got the scripts for one of the later episodes, and he was like, hey, this doesn't really have the charm of the earlier episodes. And it was because those episodes, the script that he got had been edited by Bidmead, and J&T was like, fine, here you can have the Terrance Dicks original. So Bidmead actually didn't do as much work on this serial as he did on the previous ones, because the director thought that Terrance Dicks' originals were superior to Bidmead's edits.
Maybe that's why we enjoyed this so much. No, I don't know.
Hey, I don't think it's fair to hate on Bidmead just yet until we get to the end of his tenure on the show. Hey, we might end up liking the stuff he does in the next 3 weeks. Can you believe we're 3 weeks away from the end of the 4th Doctor's era?
Nope. It's been almost a year.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm curious to see where Adric's going to go next week. And
Not Alzarius.
Perfect. What crazy thing he's going to do next week. Other than that, anything else?
Nope, that's about it.
Next week concludes the E-Space trilogy. Email us at thedoctor@decadentvegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters. More Adric thoughts. We didn't get any thoughts on Adric last week. We did get an email, but it wasn't related to Adric. It's not one we're going to read on the show either. Check us out on YouTube at Trust Your Doctor. Check us out on iTunes at Trust Your Doctor. Tell your friends about the show. We're coming up on the end of an era. It'll be a good time for them to hop on.
Right, the canine hating era. No.
I think that'll end sooner than we think.
Also check us on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor, and like us on Facebook, and also check us out on Twitter at TOID Podcast, and follow us on Twitter. And next week, we conclude the Space Trilogy with Warrior's Gate. But until then, the end.